very hard having the kids going to school, and especially when you're in this situation. You have to, there's no OHIP, there's no medication for the kids. Right now my son have ADD and he doesn't have no medication, no money, no OHIP, and you have to pay it from your own pocket. You can't work because the immigration don't want you to work. It's really, really hard. You can't do anything, you can't, basically I don't even eat, I don't sleep because I give him work to do, he doesn't want to do it. He just keeps saying, I want to go to school, I miss my friends. Why can't I go to school? I explained to him the reason why, but he still doesn't understand. I take him out of school because of my situation. I couldn't send him to school because I was told the immigration could come there and take him, or the police. And he was out of school for 6 weeks.
So it's been 2 years now since the Toronto District School Board implemented the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, yet nearly nothing has been done. We see constant reports of students still being rejected at the doors.
My name is Kumar. I'm 10 years old, and I'm in grade 5. They missed school, and all my friends and my teachers don't want to get deported.
Non-status really means that you're just like a ghost walking in the streets of any countries or in the ground of any countries. You have no rights, you have no power, no nothing. Like you can't do anything, and you can't be like any other people that are around you.
When you are a person without status, every day that you think, every day that you wake up thinking that things can happen to you, right? When you get out of your house, the second you leave your house, you are an imminent threat, and it's this fear, right? That just like as well as physically, it psychologically impacts your everyday life. When you go to school, you're not just thinking about your marks or what you're gonna do today. You're also thinking that maybe somebody will be there to take you away.
I was neglected from my rights as a human being. I didn't have the right to go to school, and couldn't really like meet friends or go outside like a normal human being and, you know, have fun. Or I just feel like I was isolated in that house, and I just couldn't do anything because of my status.
We have seen a lot of families recently that have tried to enroll their students in the 2008-2009 school year, and they have not been able to. They have been denied because they have no papers.
It's, you know, when you walk into that office, all they do is like asking you questions, one after the next, and you basically feel really uncomfortable, and that's how I felt. I felt that if anything happens, you know, my status would be exposed, and I would be kicked out of the country at any time.
If I was alone, it would be no problem, but when you have children, it's really, really hard. They need to get into school, they need to go to the doctor, they need to go to the dentist, and all these things, I don't have access to none of those things. It's hard, really hard.
The policy is exciting in itself, but the actual work of that policy, I didn't see evidence of it.
Every day when families go to a TDSB school, you know, and they try to register their kids, they are resistant against, you know, the oppression that happens in the whole system, because they know, right? They know that they may be denied this, but they're still going because that's what we are fighting for, right?
You're not letting a student in the school to now think that you think that everyone is not the same, everyone is different because of their status, and you're discriminating people. That's what I would think if you do not let our student in the school.
It is man-made discrimination. If the God can give me, let me come in the world, who the hell of this authority to tell me not to come in USA, not to come in Canada? And I feel like this is my world, I can live whatever I want. But just think that I can be better enough to live in this country. If somebody can better enough to work, they have the right to better enough to live in this country.
We cannot judge people based on their status. We have to judge people based on the fact that they're human beings, and all human beings have the same necessities, you know, right of a life, a proper living, and an education. So regardless what, we have to be treated equally and fairly among each other. And the government should be more aware of that. I mean, people do not move around from countries to countries because they feel like it or because they want to. Sometimes it's because they have to and they have no choice.
They've passed this motion, but what have they done to actually inform all of its teachers, all of its members, all of the staff? What have they done to inform the community that they are actually welcome at their schools? What have they done to demonstrate that they're standing behind their belief in the education system and the right for all students to access education? Nothing.
Well, the lack of the implementation has huge effects on their lives. I mean, parents will not come to the school. Well, very few will, particularly if signs are up that say the opposite of what the policy actually has. So sometimes you'll walk into a school and the regular sort of checklist is, can I see your immigration papers? Do you have a passport? And those kinds of things are asked for ID. And so parents are, I think, very fearful to come in. And word spreads really fast within the community.
One of the students who, I didn't teach her, I didn't know her, but she knew who I was. So she came to me, she'd been to the No One Is Illegal workshop, and she was quite up on what the issues were, especially Don't Ask, Don't Tell, because she had been educated by No One Is Illegal during that workshop. And she knew what her rights were, and she had a little cousin who was 6 years old, who was in Canada and was trying to go to an elementary school and was being told no, that they have to produce the papers. It turned out it was really a case of a principal who did not know what the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy was.
The responsibility really lays with our school board to let students know that they are welcome there. We should see ad campaigns across the board. We should see big signs outside of our schools that say all students, regardless of their status, are welcome here. Every single staff person should have to go to an educational. When we have rallies and support marches, we see students standing at the very front lines, telling their stories, telling the stories of other students and their friends who have been denied access to education, and letting people know what the reality is.
We're entering into the third year. We cannot let more students stagger in their education.
Students have a role, parents have a role in demanding, calling their government, calling the schools, calling their school boards, and demanding that they implement this policy full swing with full advertisement and a full educational process. Teachers have a role in supporting all of their students.
I guess what I want teachers to realize is that they have support from the OSSTF District 12, especially for fighting against unfair deportations. We are teachers. We believe very strongly that all children belong in school and have a right to education. And we want the kids, they're in our city, they should be in our schools.
The Toronto School Board should do lots more to help the smaller school board, you know, to push them to do something about the kids here in Canada. It's not really their fault that they're in this situation.
People has to need the awareness and more consciousness to fight against these things, not to get the discrimination from the educational board.
Students, irrespective of immigration status, be able to access education without having to fear detention, without having to fear deportation, and without having to deal with daily intimidation from university officials when trying to access post-secondary education.
We are working to talk to the president. We're talking to other community members around the campuses to be able to have a strong contingent of people who say, we want people to stay, we want people to access to education, because education is a right regardless.